Hi everyone, it's Nightfighter22 here. I hope you guys are all well, and welcome to the next game which I'm going to show you, which was a game played by Boris Spassky, who was the former world chess champion, and MatoJelic, who is a very respectable chess player, and currently has his own chess channel on YouTube. I'll put a link in the description. But today we're going to be analysing his game versus the former world chess champion, and seeing how he managed to draw against him. I found this game very, very beautiful, and it was a great game to analyse, so please stay tuned. Here we go. Okay, so Boris Spassky started out with pawn to e4, the most common opening in chess, and MatoJelic, playing black, just went for the Sicilian, pretty standard stuff. Boris Spassky brought out his knight to c3 here, not going for the traditional knight to f3, but going for a closed Sicilian position. From here, Mato just played his knight to c6, and from here we see some pretty standard stuff. g6. So you see both sides being shuttling the bishop. But after this position, I would say to you guys, I probably prefer Mato's position. I just feel that Boris's bishop is a bit blocked in by his pawn. Obviously, he does have intentions for this, playing the world chess champion. I think his intention was to try and open up the e-file, so that this bishop's access can come out later. The move e4 is just to control the center, and it's only temporary. Okay, from here, Boris Spassky plays pawn to d3, just solidifying, and Mato does a similar thing, pawn to d6. So Mato's in a very standard Sicilian position, and so is Mr. Spassky over here. Knight from g to e2, and both sides actually brought out their knights not to the usual f3 or f6 squares on the king's side, but brought them out to the e2 squares. And you'll notice this knight later is very useful for playing moves such as pawn to f4, so really contributing to both sides of the board as opposed to just on the king side. From here, Mato plays e5, striking in the center. I believe this is the Botvinnik defense from my memory. I'm not sure if that's correct, but please tell me about that. And then from here, Boris Spassky castled. Mato brought out his knight, and you'll see after bishop d2, Mato castles as well. So both sides bringing out their knights to e2 and e7. From here, Boris Spassky plays his queen over to c1, and it may look a bit strange on the surface, but you can see his intention is to play bishop h6, and then try and trade off this dark square bishop, weakening black's dark squares. But you can see Mato actually does a similar thing. After bishop e6, he's looking to back it up with possibly queen d7 or queen c8 and try and trade off this bishop. So we'll see both the bishops come off after bishop h6 and queen d7. So Mato's preparing this now. And Boris goes ahead and trades off the dark square bishops. And after the move queen over to d2, Mato does a similar thing. So bishop to h3. Boris Spassky now plays this very nice looking f4 move to try and attack on the king side, and Mato goes ahead and trades off the bishops. Okay, so now what Mato wants to do in this position is he really wants to start like attacking in the enemy base, improving his pawn structure and all of that, and he doesn't want this e5 pawn to fall. So what he does is he brings his knight down to d4, and trades off the knights in this position. So now this knight is being attacked and his pawn structure is improved. So Boris's knight has to go back down to e2. And now Mato can play this very strong move pawn up to f5. So the structure is almost symmetrical, but you notice that knight d4 move did give Mato a slight advantage, which was the pawn in Boris's home territory here. And there's controlling the e3 squares, so now Boris can't move any pieces over to e3, he also can't move any pieces over to c3. But actually his next move, pawn up to c3, effectively trades off this pawn, because obviously if he takes and he takes here, then Mato will lose a pawn. So he was kind of forced to trade that off. So what Mato does, in order to avoid that, he takes the pawn on e4, and then after this, and then takes on this, then he will have even better pawn structure. So we see d takes e4, and then Mato brings his queen up to c6. Now I quite like this move because obviously it's aligning it with the same diagonal as the king, and this pawn on e4 is undefended. So Boris brings his queen up to d3 to defend. And I think a nice move, I haven't actually analysed it, but I've just spotted it. I actually quite like the move knight up to f5. I don't actually know if it works, because this pawn is obviously pinned, and then you can get the knight to an outpost square on d3. I'm going to put a little annotation in the video after I've analysed it. I don't have time to do that now. but I will analyse it and I'll let you know, because obviously there will be a fork on e3, so I'll see if that's a very feasible move. So from here we see d takes c3 instead. You know, still a good move. Knight takes c3, but now the knight can come back in and come around to the d5 squares. But the funny thing here is Boris Spassky offered MatoJelic a draw in this position on the 20th move, I think. And it's funny because Mato was saying, "Oh my gosh, I can't believe that Boris Spassky offered him a draw." So Boris Spassky went on playing his other games, his other correspondent games, and MatoJelic was thinking and thinking of a really good move, because obviously if a grandmaster offered you a draw, you must be thinking that they've blundered or something, and Mato was looking, any way I can win a pawn, any way I can get a positional advantage, but it turns out that there wasn't really. So next time Boris Spassky came around the table, Mato hadn't moved and he said, "I accept your draw." Okay, so that was how the game ended. I thought it was very good. Obviously Mato being a great YouTuber, he does analysis on other people's games. It was interesting to see one of his own games against a former world champion as well. It was very interesting to do, and I hope you guys enjoyed it. I'm making many more of these videos soon. I've already got quite a couple on YouTube, all these famous chess games and stuff, so please subscribe and like the videos if you want to see more of them. Thanks so much for watching the video, everybody. I hope you all enjoyed it. I wish you good luck with your chess, and I'll see you next time. Goodbye, everyone.